Hey everyone, how you doing? It's me, Sil, and this is Slow Easy English. Thank you for joining me on another video. Today I want to talk about the word nonplussed. And the reason I want to talk about it is because it seems in the past few years that I am hearing or reading this word more and more often, but unfortunately, most of the time, and I'm not exaggerating, really most of the time, it seems that the person using this word clearly does not know what it actually means, and they use it to mean something else. Now, most of the time, it seems that people use the word nonplussed to mean unimpressed or disappointed or maybe even a little bit angry or unsurprised, not surprised by something. And this is not what it means, actually. It kind of means the opposite, in fact. So the word nonplussed actually means to be so surprised, so confused that you don't know how to react to a situation. So if something happens and you are surprised and you're confused and you're like, you just don't know what to say, what to do in this situation. It's just it's too much for you, and you're like, you kind of that's my acting ability there coming through. But that's it. You're surprised, you're confused, you don't know what to say or do. So let me give you an example of the correct way to use the word, and then I will give you some examples that you will see people using it but are actually incorrect. Okay, so first, this is the correct way to use the word nonplussed. Chris was nonplussed when his boss yelled at him in front of the entire office for being only 5 minutes late. After a minute of silence, he stood up and walked out. Okay, so here I guess it's two sentences, but here in these two sentences, it's pretty clear what you can imagine what Chris is going through, right? He arrives at work just a few minutes late, less than 5 minutes late. Or 5 minutes, actually, exactly 5 minutes late. And his boss is yelling at him, "What are you doing? Why are you late?" Rah! And it's in front of everybody. Like his whole office is there watching this and hearing his boss yell at him. So Chris, he's surprised, he's confused, he doesn't know how to react to this. Do you get angry? What do you do? What do you say? He doesn't know. And so he is nonplussed. And then after a minute of silence, he just kind of stood there, not really knowing how to react. But after a minute, he decided, okay, you know what? That's enough. He stood up and he walked out. So this is a perfect way to use the word nonplussed. Now, let's go over 3 more sentences where nonplussed is not actually being used correctly, but you will see many examples of people actually using it this way in real life. So the first sentence is, Mark was really looking forward to enjoying a thick, juicy, delicious sirloin steak for dinner, but he was nonplussed when the server told him they were sold out. Okay, so here we can imagine that Mark was, excited about enjoying a good steak for dinner. He goes to the restaurant, he orders the steak, waiter says, "Sorry, sir, we are sold out." So Mark is certainly not nonplussed. I mean, can you imagine Mark in this situation being told by the waiter, sorry, we're sold out, and going, like, I'm so confused and surprised. I don't know how to react. It doesn't make sense, right? So here Mark is maybe disappointed. That's it. He's disappointed, and he probably going, oh, okay, well, I guess, damn, I guess I'll have the shrimp. Lobster, whatever. So this is not a very good use of the word nonplussed. Next sentence. The comedian was trying his best to make the people in the audience laugh, but most of them were nonplussed. Okay, here, too. The comedian is not funny. He's trying to be funny, but he's not. Or she, we don't know. Yeah, we don't know. Could be a he or she. Either way, this comedian is not a funny comedian, and the audience is just sitting there watching, listening, bored. They are not impressed. The jokes are not impressing them. They're not making them laugh. So here you could say they are unimpressed. That's fine, but they're not nonplussed. They're not confused and surprised where they don't know how to react. That's not the situation, and that's not the situation I'm imagining either. So here, it does not call for the word nonplussed. That's incorrect. And one more example sentence where it's not being used correctly. Linda was nonplussed when David didn't even get her a card for her birthday. Now here, I suppose it's possible that Linda was so surprised and shocked, but it doesn't really fit the sentence very well. Here I would imagine that Linda is angry, she's upset, she's sad, but not nonplussed. I can't see her really being like, no card, like really, I can't imagine that happening. So just like not knowing how to react, I don't think so. I think Linda was probably a little bit upset, and that's what we're dealing with here. So okay, so this, unfortunately, it's one of those things that is being misunderstood and misused. But what's very interesting about language is this. If you have a few people that are using a word, or even grammar, but if you have a few people using a word the wrong way, then those people are just wrong, and that's it. They're just, some people will say they're stupid, or they don't, they're ignorant, whatever. But if you have a lot of people, enough people, if everybody or almost everybody is using a word the wrong way, as long as everybody is using it the wrong way, then that word becomes correct. That meaning for that word becomes correct. So it's very interesting. Language is interesting in that if you only have a few people that are wrong, then they're wrong. If you have a lot of people that are wrong, then all of a sudden that becomes correct. And that's what is happening with this word nonplussed. If you look in the dictionary, now it has the original definition, and then under that, and it will be labeled informal because it's not really accepted. And I'm sure most grammar teachers would say, no, that's not what it means. But so many people are using it to mean unimpressed, or maybe disappointed, or not surprised. So many people are using it this way that the dictionary has had to accept it and say, well, enough people are using it, so that's what it means, because they all understand each other. Now, normally I would agree with this, that yeah, okay, if enough people use a word in a certain way, then that's what it means. You can't fight that. That's what language is. Most of the time, I would say that's correct. The problem here is that if one person uses the word nonplussed correctly, they're actually in their minds, they are thinking, so surprised that you don't know how to react, then the listener, if they're not aware of that definition and they think disappointed or not impressed, then you have a communication problem, because you have two competing definitions for the same word and the context does not make it clear. It's okay for words to have more than one meaning. Many words have multiple meanings, and that's fine. The problem occurs when those meanings are not clarified by context, and that's what we see happening here. The context does not always clarify which definition is the appropriate definition. So I think it's probably too late. It doesn't matter. I think what's going to end up happening with the word nonplussed, in a few more years, we will completely lose the original definition because most people don't even know about it. And it will come to mean simply unimpressed, a little bit upset, or maybe just not surprised by it. And I think that's what's going to happen. I think it's going to replace that original definition. It's not going to simply be added. I think most people will just not even be aware of that original definition. So it will be interesting to see what happens in the future with this word. But anyway, I guess this depends on how many people learn about its original definition in the next few years, and whether or not they choose to use it correctly or to continue using it with the new incorrect definition. So I don't know. This is going to be an interesting thing to watch. And if I can remember, I'll come back to it in 10 or 15 years to see whether or not the original definition came back and pushed out the wrong meaning, or if the wrong meaning pushed out the correct meaning, and then the wrong meaning becomes the correct meaning, which means it's no longer the wrong meaning if it's the correct meaning. Okay, time to stop. So I hope this video helped you understand the word nonplussed. Let me know, leave a comment. I'm curious to know if, now that you've seen this video, are you going to use the word correctly with the original definition, in the future? Or are you going to continue to use it as everybody seems to be understanding it now? For me, I think if I'm going to use the word, I'm going to use it with the original definition. But I will also be aware and keep in mind that when I hear other people use it, they may very well not be using it with the original definition. So that's it. So anyway, I hope you liked the video. Click like, subscribe, and the bell icon to get notifications. And I will see you in the next video. Bye.